Hello, 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 and welcome to the Wonder Women in Tech Conference 2023. My name is Siobhan Bonnie Patterson, and I'm a peak performance coach for women in entrepreneurship, women in any place of leadership, and women that want to get back into their divine femininity so that we can lead the way that we were actually created to lead. So real quick, in 20 minutes, I'm going to fly through one of my signature talks on how to lead like a goddess. So let's jump right into it. First of all, my intention for today is to educate and awaken the women who are completely unaware of why they're burnt out, why they're stressed out, and why their nervous systems are freaking fried while they're trying to build their business, while they're trying to climb up the corporate ladder. Hint, you're climbing up the wrong ladder and you're climbing it up the wrong way. So we're going to shift back into the way that we were divinely created to take up space on this planet, okay? So that you can alleviate some of that stress and so that you can properly, confidently, and competently take your place beside the men in leadership, not behind them, as we've been put. So let's jump right in, okay? Why? Why is this so important? Because we need to restore balance in the world. I don't know if you've noticed, but most of these things like wars, women don't usually start wars. Poverty, homelessness, and hunger, women are always trying to find a way to rectify these things. Violent crimes, most of them are committed by men, like the majority of them. And this isn't an anti-man talk. This is a pro, hey, bro, let us in. We don't do a lot of this stuff that you see happening around the world that is causing everyone trouble, strife, and grief. Corporate burnout. When women run businesses in their femininity, we don't run them the same hustle and bustle, grind 24/7. We don't care if your kids are sick mentality. That's just not how we do. Oh, and when women have more money and when women are in positions of leadership, we actually try to save the earth, not deplete it of its resources, right? So with that said, how did we get here? Well, in my theory, the masculine who was placed in leadership, if you believe in biblical teachings, they're the ones that were placed in the head. They abuse their power over and over and over again. And now where we're at is that the feminine isn't really standing in hers. And that is the topic of today's speech today. So let's get right into it. We're going to learn how to reclaim our throne, right? And figure out who hurt you. Where did all of this start? We're going to talk about what it's like to feel wounded in your feminine energy and a little off balance, which, by the way, is where most of us live in our comfort zones. And then also reminding you that you're not a man with a dress on. You are a whole woman, a female, and the way that you will lead is not going to look like they did, and that's okay. So with that said, let's get into it. How to lead like a goddess. Let's start first. Where did we learn this from? The church, how most of us were raised, no matter what religion, was taught that most women are seen and not to be heard. Most world religions teach this. They normalize and glorify the suppression of us, our bodies, our voices, our ability to talk to our higher source. Isn't that crazy? I'm going to show you something that might make you think. Now, I went to school for ministry. I'm actually an ordained minister. And what I learned in my exegetical studies is that in the entire Bible, Old and New Testament, there's only 11 women that were chosen and seen and viewed as prophetesses, right? Okay. 2 of them were false prophets because they were evil, right? And then that leaves us with the 9, and only 4 of those, half of them dang near had to be virgins, dang near perfect to be able to talk to God. And yet, throughout the entire Bible, we hear story after story after story of these men of God, men after God's own heart, men who also had brothels and harems of women, who sent men to die. King David, who we all love and adore, saw Bathsheba taking a bath on the roof, wanted to sleep with her, did, and sent her husband out to the front line to get killed. But yet, he's revered as a man after God's own heart. Yet, women, all throughout the Bible, we do one thing wrong: we are unclean, we are dirty, we got to be cast out. Do you not see how that has possibly shaped and molded the way for the where we are right now today? And that is a very hard truth for many of us to accept, especially those of us that grew up in the church. Our families and our cultures also said, be the good girl, be a lady, be quiet, don't be a bitch, right? These are the things that we are told. And we're also told that our emotions need to be hidden, that they need to be covered. You always have to be the good, quiet girl, smile. Now, between culture, between church, between your families, everyone's coming at us. Your body is a temptation, said the church. Your body must be perfect, said culture. And also, your body isn't yours. All of them have said this. We've been taught to not only be cut off from our emotions, from our power, but also our bodies. And as a fitness coach, I also that just hits me somewhere special because sis, your body is powerful. Your emotions are your superpower, not your weakness. Your body is your superpower. I don't care what it looks like. It's not a disgrace. And your mind is way more complex and efficient than you realize, than they even realize. In fact, go ahead if you're walking by and screenshot this. Our brains are a little bit different than theirs. And we don't know if this is something that we were made this way or if this is part of our conditioning, but our brains definitely function and are created in a different way, born a different way. Okay. Yes, they're a little bit smaller, but that means that we're able to connect and make connections faster. That's why we're better at multitasking. And again, who knows if this is the way we were created or if this is the way we are conditioned as the person that has to wear all of the hats. Now, this is why we have such an easier time connecting with our intuition and our logic. We can go back and forth between the both hemispheres a lot faster because the connections are tighter than they would be in a man's brain. Again, this doesn't make them inferior or make us superior. It just makes us different. And with that difference, that means we need to lean in and honor those differences. I don't know how we ended up back at the very beginning. Okay. That was weird. So let's take a look at what healthy divine feminine energy looks like. I'm not going to read down this list. Again, if you're walking by, go ahead and screenshot this list so that you can know what it feels like when you are tapped in and tuned in and in your zone of genius. When you look up what a goddess is, these are the same qualities. Healthy divine feminine energy is goddess energy. We're also pretty strong too. These are all of the traits that we could be embracing on a daily basis. But instead, this is where a lot of us are stuck at. Not here to call anybody lazy, but sometimes we get unfocused and we're constantly overthinking. We're being way too cerebral, way too trying to make everything rational. And sometimes things are just felt and known. That's your intuition. And when you're cut off from your intuition, you go to your default, which is trying to overthink and over rationalize. That it results in you feeling scatterbrained, makes you feel less confident because your power is in your body. Your intuition is felt. And when you are cut off from your body because you're told it's a disgrace or because you're told that you need to be skinny and not strong, it really cuts off your ability to connect to yourself. When we're overworking and we're in our grind mentality, trying to be a man, right? We ignore our body's cues. It starts so simple as us ignoring when we need to go to the bathroom because we want to work and get the work done. Ignoring when our bodies are thirsty because we don't want to have to stop working and go get water or pee too often. Those are actual words that were said to me by one of my managers as I watched her run her body into the ground. And she was soon fired after running her body into the ground for this place. She wouldn't stop for breaks to eat, to drink water. She said, "No can do, Bonnie. Water is going to make me pee and I can't take a break." She was soon fired during the pandemic. And this is what happens to us. We sacrifice our bodies. We sacrifice our well-being. We sacrifice who we are to get ahead just to get put back down at the bottom again. And the reason why is because you're showing up in a way that you weren't supposed to. You're not supposed to be trying to run the race the same way that they run the race, right? We have been given divine gifts. We've been given different, unique gifts, and we need to use them. Otherwise, we end up like this. Now, again, you can take a screenshot of this. Maybe this isn't you, especially nobody at the Wonder Woman in Tech conference, but maybe you know a woman on your team, a friend, a colleague that maybe needs to see this and is having trouble understanding why she can't keep up with the men in her job and in her fields. And it's because she's feeling out of alignment because she has lost touch of who she is. Now, on the other hand, real quick, I just wanted to skim through here and let you know what healthy masculine energy does look like. Because even though all in corporate America, we do tend to see more toxic hustle culture masculinity, this is what healthy masculinity looks like and what it should be. And we can't talk about, divine goddess energy without talking about divine God-like energy. Oh my gosh. And literally, when you're watching this movie, just think to yourself, everything that he did lines up with what a healthy man should be, after he got his junk together, because he was a little turd in the beginning. Now, on the other hand, we have what most of us are experiencing in the workplace, which is the toxic masculinity. Now, I want you to take a look at this yin and yang, because Every human should have a little bit of femininity or a little bit of masculinity. If you're a female, you should have a little bit of masculinity in there. I call that the masculinity to get shit done. If you're a masculine, if you're a male, you should have a little bit of femininity so that you can learn to be gracious, empathetic, patient, and understanding just a little bit. But you know what happens? How we end up with toxic masculinity is when that dot gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Because when you think of a female, creative energy, but the opposite of that, the toxic, is the destructive energy, right? Women create, and when men are not in their best, they destroy. Women in their best, we're gentle, but when we're not in our best, when we're not in our balanced energy, we're aggressive. Warm, cold, you see the correlation. And again, you can screenshot some of this if you need to tell a friend, like, oh my God, but don't tell them I sent you. Just say you found this on the internet somewhere. Then I want you to, this is a nice summary of everything that was said here, and this is a great screenshot to take, okay? Is that this is what happens when we are off. This is the shadow version of the men. This is the shadow version of the women. So with that said, how can you truly lead like a goddess? And the way that we do this is by honoring both of your divine energies in the appropriate ratio, right? Now, normally, most of society has grown up in the traditional masculine leadership that's characterized by assertiveness, competitiveness, hierarchical approach, clear instructions with no question, right? And that's not generally how women run things. That's not the feminine energy. When we try to lead like men, have you ever had a boss, a female boss that just completely abused her power, threw you under the bus? Or as I mentioned with my former boss, she would ignore her body and just will through her shifts. You learn to ignore your emotional intelligence in order to fit in and be accepted with your male peers. You view other women as less than, so you're less likely to collaborate, and you gatekeep. This is what happens when women try to lead like men, and it's not indicative of who we are. So here, real quick, this is what feminine leadership looks like. Okay, this feminine leadership, the characteristics of it, they emphasize collaboration, empathy, emotional intelligence, right? We think about the whole team as a whole. Why do you think that is? Because we are natural born caregivers, nurturers, right? So it only makes sense that when we're in a position of leadership, we are looking at the whole picture and making sure that everyone feels inclusive and making sure that diversity is embraced. This is feminine leadership at work. It creates a positive work environment, not a hostile one. And it actually seeks input from its team instead of, this is what I said, everybody has to do it. So once again, here's a wonderful comparison of what it looks like to be in your healthy, what it looks like for men to be in their healthy, and what it looks like when we're a little unbalanced, right? When you embrace the feminine style of leadership, you'll notice that this sense of urgency starts to weaken because you're not a slave owner, right? We start viewing people as humans, right? Instead of the way that society has started to see people as pawns and just a means to an end. Again, because we are natural born caregivers and we care about people. We process our emotions. We take time to sort through them instead of just projecting them on our peers and our employees and our team. We pause for the cause and we learn to hold space for our emotions and others' emotions without immediately projecting them back on them. So, how can you incorporate this into your life? How can you lead like a goddess? Well, one, you want to take that feminine style of leadership with a little dash of that masculinity, right? That structure, the process, the organization, the rationality, right? You get to do all those things while inserting your intuition, while embracing your creativity and your different ways of viewing the world through flow and through grace. Now, here's a few ways that you can get back into your feminine energy if you feel like you have been cut off. Meditation daily. I go in and meditate and connect with my highest self as often as possible. She never leads me astray. Manifesting and becoming magnetic, right? Setting your sights on things that actually make you feel good. The song Girls Just Want to Have Fun, it's not a joke. Like, we were meant to feel things. And when we are constantly feeling bad, we create, we reproduce, and we magnetize more not good feelings. However, when a woman is feeling good and confident in her body and in her life, it's like witchcraft. You see things flowing to her easily, opportunities, doors opening up. You're like, how does she do that? She's not even, she may not even be the finest woman in the room, but she's got it. You know why? Because she's in her divine feminine and it's magnetic, it's witchcraft. Scripting and journaling, taking time to actually get your thoughts onto paper. Affirmations, as corny as they sound, it's literally a way that you can reprogram yourself and switch out from the conditioning, right? I like to work with aromatherapy, waxes, smells, candles, because again, the way that we feel affects our output. And if we feel like it smells so good, fresh and clean, it's going to affect the way that you show up and that you work. Grounding exercises, sis, get to the beach, go to the mountains, get your foot in the earth and connect yourself back to Mother Earth. I know I sound like a hippie, but this junk works. Breath work, of course. This is going to bring your nervous system back down to the parasympathetic state instead of the sympathetic state that most of us live in who live under high stress. And then, of course, self-awareness, being aware when you are not embodying the traits that I listed on the previous screens. So I hope that you guys enjoyed my brief presentation on how to lead like a goddess. If you did enjoy this, feel free to find me. On Instagram, I'm Siobhan Bonds. On Facebook, you can find me at Siobhan Bonnie Patterson. And I also have a podcast where I talk about what it was like to go from a struggling, broke, single mom waitress into a CEO who's building the #1 personal development platform for women. And our goal is to level the economic playing field for women. And we start with feminine embodiment. It has been a pleasure. I hope to hear and connect with some of you soon. Now go out and lead like a goddess.